The Dothan City School Board split tonight over how to fix struggling math and literacy scores. Board members rejected Superintendent Dr. Garrick Askew's initiatives to fix what some call a dire crisis in math and literacy. News 4's Katie Ring was at the meeting. She joins us live to explain what stalled the plan and what comes next. Katie?
Yeah, Alexa, well, the Dothan City School Board tackled its biggest academic challenges tonight, math and literacy. But board members rejected Superintendent Dr. Garrick Askew's proposed fixes. Board members did not approve the SWAN math contract or the proposed Reading Center initiative, with some saying outside academic support is needed now, while others called for more clarity and direction and said existing staff and resources should be used first. Central to the discussion was how best to support students and improve outcomes in the classroom. But in the end, the board deadlocked, sending the discussion back to the drawing board. I spoke with a board member who supported the plans, and she says the conversation about improving math and literacy is far from over. The discussion played out in a packed meeting room with families and educators all in attendance, seemingly all in support of Askew's turnaround plan.
Math and English are major topics, and our children need to have that education so they can get good jobs, support their families, and grow up to be productive citizens in society. And it's our responsibility to be here to speak on their behalf and to advocate for their rights to do so.
For families and students, this means the district must now find another way to address math and literacy challenges moving forward. District leaders say they may revisit initiatives at a future school meeting. Back to you, Alexa.
Thank you, Katie. We'll continue following what comes next for Dothan City Schools.